not the extra
percent a record. And I said, I went to his attorney. He said, man, if I'm gonna sit down with you,
to cook anything, you gotta have ingredients. You got to make a recipe. And I think that's what life is all about.
A man with a calm demeanor, an enigmatic smile, and the confidence of someone who has conquered both poverty and prejudice. That's Master P, the ultimate symbol of the American self-made spirit. He is a builder. He is the mastermind behind the no-limit empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He was the role model for Jay-Z to learn management for Birdman to build Cash Money, and for all of Hollywood to acknowledge that without P, there would be no billion-dollar rap era. But behind the image of the untouchable boss lies a dark truth that the majority has never touched. Financial failures left no limit on the brink of bankruptcy, family tragedies that no father is strong enough to withstand, and the psychological illness that no doctor can prescribe for. The man who was once sought after by the whole world is now struggling against terrible loneliness within his own life. So what really pushed Master P into the darkest chapter of his life? What made him rush to sell his own assets? And is he still the king the world once knew? Or just a victim of the very legacy he created? Don't take your eyes off the screen, because what is about to be revealed will completely shatter the image of Master P that you once believed to be true. 1. The years that nurtured a renowned entrepreneur. Before Master P became the mogul behind the no-limit empire, before he appeared on the gold, silver, and glitter-covered album covers of Pen and Pixel, everything began in a place where no one would have expected a millionaire to be born. Calliope Projects is notorious in New Orleans, a neighborhood rife with crime and violence. And it was there that Percy Miller grew up. It's not just difficult, not just dangerous. Percy's life back then was an endless series of trials. When their parents separated, he and his brothers moved in with their grandmother. 3 bedrooms, 11 children, a narrow corridor with old wooden flooring. And that's where Percy slept for many years. No bed, no mattress. There was only the cold wooden floor, a thin blanket, and the sound of people walking right next to his head every night. But you didn't complain. Deprivation was never strong enough to kill the smoldering will in that boy. Then at the age of 16, Percy's life took a turn, because a moment that was extremely ordinary for others, yet shook his thoughts. That day, Percy saw someone who had grown up in Calliope, a former resident who had been as poor as his family, return to the neighborhood in a brand new Mercedes-Benz. The man became an insurance agent, had a stable life, and no longer had to avoid the things that the boys in the projects always feared. It was the first time he had seen a real flesh and blood way out. That moment changed Percy's life. He is determined to become a legitimate businessman. From that moment on, he no longer thought of money as something distant. You think about business. Think about a clean path, free from gangs, without sacrificing freedom. Percy wants to be in charge, to be the first in the family to break free from the cycle of poverty, violence, loss that Calliope has always imposed on those born here. But dreams don't pay the bills. And your family had almost no money. Until the event happened, the grandparents passed away, leaving behind an insurance sum of $10,000. To the outside world, it's just a small amount of money. But for that area, it was a treasure trove. Everyone wants to use it for immediate needs. But Percy just held the payment slip and fell silent. At the age of 19 or 20, he understood this was the only chance to change his future. And so, at the young age of 21, the ambitious millionaire opened No Limit Records and Tapes on San Pablo Avenue in Richmond, California. It's just a tiny little shop that sells cassettes, self-recorded tapes, and a few odds and ends that can be turned over for profit, without money to hire workers. Percy built everything himself. Each wooden shelf, each price list. 2 milk crates are arranged to serve as a cash register. The shoebox holds money instead of a safe. The old ceiling fan creaks every time it turns. Every detail in that small shop tells a story, and without anyone saying a word, you can tell what the owner's background is. But for Percy, it was a ticket to escape the cold wooden floor of the hallway, to escape Calliope, to escape the sounds of gunfire at night. Also during the most difficult time, life's events added more burdens to Percy's shoulders. His girlfriend is pregnant. The family was already cramped, and now they have to prepare to welcome another life. At that moment, Master P discovered a rundown building and negotiated with the owner to get the first 3 months of rent free in exchange for cleaning and renovating the storefront. To cut costs in the early stages, Master P, his wife Sonia, and their 1-year-old son, Percy Romeo Miller Jr., lived in a small storage room behind the store. No Limit Records and Tapes primarily sold West Coast gangster rap albums focusing on local East Bay artists like Tupac Too Short, Rappin' Forte, and E40. Within a few months, the store became famous in the community, and in 1991, Master P began selling his self-produced album Get Away Clean under the newly launched No Limit Records label. To promote the album, he embarked on a West Coast tour opening for Tupac and Too Short. On the way, he connected with as many promoters and DJs as possible. After his second album, Mama's Bad Boy, sold over 150,000 independent copies in 1992, Master P decided to move No Limit Records to New Orleans to pursue his record label business career seriously. By 1994, his third album, The Ghetto's Trying to Kill Me, sold 250,000 copies independently, and No Limit Records grossed over $900,000. In 1990, Master P released his debut album Get Away Clean, which was not very successful. However, it was his third album, The Ghetto's Trying to Kill Me, was the true beginning of his illustrious career. Determined to maintain control over his music and profits, Master P founded No Limit Records, an independent record label that later became the foundation for his empire. 2. The rapid increase in power. In the challenging process of independent business, Master P distilled a life truth: ownership is power, and he turned that saying into his greatest leverage. While established artists were still grappling with complex contracts, P walked into the Priority Records office with an unexpected position. I'm not the one who goes around begging for contracts. He is the one being courted, wooed, and sought after by companies, as if they see a gold mine right before their eyes. Master P was treated like a true king, because record labels saw in him something that almost no other artist at the time possessed: market power. More precisely, its purchasing power, a southern community willing to spend money, loyal and growing. With P, companies don't just see an artist, they saw a door to enter a market they couldn't penetrate before. And that's why the historic deal happened. 80% for No Limit, 20% for the company. Not binding. Uncontrolled creativity. Don't touch the master. A self-made rapper from the Calliope Projects managed to secure a royalty split that exceeded industry standards at the time, a rate that even Madonna at the peak of her career only received between 25 and 50%. That contrast alone says it all. Madonna is considered the queen of pop, but even she had to play by the rules of the record label. And Master P, an independent rapper, made the whole system turn around to serve him. The agreement not only brought in a 75% split, but also granted P ownership of all original recordings from his own to those of all artists under No Limit. And then the results came immediately. Ice Cream Man, P's first album under Priority, shot straight to number 3 on the Billboard charts in 1996. Touch Platinum, 1.7 million copies sold in the US alone. That was just the opening shot for the No Limit storm. Silk the Shocker, Sea Murder, Mystical, Maya X, Steady Mobbin'. The lineup is built like an army, each person a different piece of energy. But when they stand under the No Limit flag, they combine into an unparalleled force. The rest unfolded like a high-speed assembly line. In 1997, the company collected over 8 platinum albums. From 1997 to 1998, No Limit released nearly 50 albums. Each cover is dazzling, full of pen and pixel tanks, gold chrome effects, all creating No Limit's unique visual language. You can tell just by looking at it, no explanation needed. Then in 1997, Master P released Ghetto D, a real explosion. 3.2 million copies in the US, and Make 'em Say became the rallying cry of the entire South. The video clip was released as a powerful statement. A basketball court tank's silver vests. The entire DNA of No Limit was on full display. But the real peak was in 1998. MP Da Last Dawn debuted at number 1 on Billboard, selling 500,000 copies in its first week and exceeding 4 million copies overall. Not yet. The move that stunned America: Snoop Dogg's P. A star just left death row in chaos. People thought Snoop would disappear amidst the crisis. But P saw what everyone else didn't. Snoop was the door that put No Limit on the national map. And the game is to be sold, not to be told, proves him right. The album sold 800,000 copies in 2 weeks. Chart number 1. Platinum is doubled. In 1998 alone, No Limit sold over 20 million albums. Someone called them factory, a hit factory. But for P, it's not a factory. That's a survival strategy. If the East Coast has lyricism, the West Coast has gangsta rap. Well, the South needs something else: speed, density. The constant presence makes it impossible for anyone to ignore. Leverage existing brand recognition. P quickly opened a sports management company, opened the fashion line, real estate, opened the film studio. I'm 'Bout It, a low-budget film directed, produced, and starring him was released directly to video. The film is said to have cost only $0,000 to make, but grossed over $3 million. From 1992 to 1998, No Limit generated $20 million from album sales alone. In 1998 alone, the ancillary projects brought in over $60 million. By 2013, No Limit had sold nearly 80 million copies worldwide. P's net worth is estimated to be up to $50 million, a figure that made the media call him by 3 words: self-made mogul. Increasing pace, concentrate, fiery. Every album is a firework. Each artist is a branch of power. And by the time America understood what was happening, it was too late. No Limit is no longer a record label. It's the empire, truly an empire. And Master P is the one who built it from the ground up with speed strategy and unstoppable determination. However, every deal requires a trade-off, and every power comes at a price. 3. Events that led to the empire's collapse. A family that seemed unbreakable. But just like hip-hop says, the stronger the light, the closer the darkness. And for Master P, that darkness began right in his own home. C Murder and Silk were once Master P's right-hand men. The 3 brothers grew up together, entered the game together, and shared every meal and every dream. But as No Limit began to expand, everyone's perspectives diverged in directions that no longer met at the peak. C Murder maintains his street credibility, living up to the essence that made him an icon of New Orleans. Silk is more commercially oriented. As for P, his entrepreneurial instinct led him further than anything else. Family distance begins with small conversations. The seemingly harmless phrases, "Let's think about it tomorrow." And then it grew, no one knew from when. Then the C Murder case exploded. One night, a scuffle, a network of people, a name appears in the indictment. When C Murder was arrested, it wasn't just his family that panicked. The entire No Limit felt like it had fallen into a vacuum. The other rappers are waiting. The media is swarming. And P is caught between 2 roles. The eldest brother must step up to protect his sibling, and the company head must face the domino effect right before his eyes. But waves never come alone. Mystical, one of No Limit's strongest artists, was involved in a major lawsuit. The amount of compensation, legal costs, and public pressure pulled No Limit into an uncontrollable spiral. 2 major scandals hit one after another, causing No Limit to lose favor with the public. And the scariest part is everything happened too fast for anyone to catch their breath. The internal label is also starting to make waves. Some artists shared that their contracts were not what they expected. Some people think P is too controlling. Some people feel they don't have enough say in their own music. No one attacked directly, but those scattered remarks were enough for the media to piece together a completely different picture. A picture that Master P couldn't control. And once the media has chosen the story, they tell it the way they want. Each article, each talk show began calling No Limit factory music. The idea is that this label operates like an industrial assembly line. Quick, many, noisy, but it lacks soul. It creates a new narrative. A sticker that once stuck is very difficult to remove. Meanwhile, the rap industry also changed. It's no longer the era where a label can release a dozen albums a year and then dominate Billboard. The new generation is emerging with a different sound. Tastes are fickle. Atlanta is rising. The mixtape era exploded. And No Limit's steps suddenly became heavy in a market that was moving faster and faster. But the heaviest blow didn't come from the stage, from the press, or from the industry. It comes from the very house that Master P tried to keep standing for nearly 3 decades. During the no-limit era, which was reeling from scandal and market changes, Sonia Miller P's wife of 24 years filed for divorce. There is no prenuptial agreement, because when they got married, P was just a young man in New Orleans with a small dream in an old record store. And it was that detail that turned the divorce into a legal battle, longer than any tour or promotional campaign No Limit had ever done. Sonia claimed that Master P owns approximately $78 million in assets, 31 properties worth $19 million. There are over 136 million businesses, 13 cars from Escalade to Rolls-Royce, chandeliers that cost $300,000 each. And she's asking for 37%. That's about $66 million. No one knows where absolute truth lies. No one was in the room when the two of them were arguing. But one thing was clear to everyone. This was the push that caused Master P not only to lose a portion of his empire, but also to lose the companion who had been with him since the very beginning, when he had nothing. So when talking about the downfall of No Limit, we can't just look at the scandals or market changes. You have to look at the burden placed on a person all at once. A brother involved in a case, an artist in trouble media attacks an industry in flux, and a marriage falling apart. Stacking of events. A chain reaction that even a business genius like Master P couldn't fully withstand. And from that moment on, the world no longer saw Master P just as the independent king of hip-hop. They started to see cracks, the burdens. The losses lie behind the glory. Exactly how every empire has fallen from within, from things only insiders understand, and from pains that no million-dollar contract can conceal. 4. The consequences of a series of scandals. No Limit was once an unsinkable ship. A packed release schedule, sky-high sales, and an entire generation of rappers living off the model Master P created. But then 2003 arrived, and the ship sailed straight into the storm. No trumpets, no drums. Just one day, the media reported No Limit officially went bankrupt. For many people, it was just a record label that collapsed. But for Master P, it was the first house he'd ever built with his own hands, the first time he'd proudly hung the Independent Forever flag. And now, everything collapses like a sandcastle. The financial storm hit so quickly that even P was swept away. Homeless, debt upon debt. The lawsuits just kept coming from former partners to discrepancies in income and expenses over many years. This is no longer a story of an empire collapsing. This is the story of a man who must stand amidst the ruins of his own dreams. Meanwhile, another crack began to show the family. Throughout the Golden Age, P always talked about responsibility, about protecting his family no matter what. But when No Limit faltered, all the old promises were scrutinized in detail. Many people criticize Master P for managing the family finances opaquely, allowing money matters to interfere with what should be the most sacred relationships. Tension is escalating. Internal disputes appeared in the press. And for someone as private as P, this is a blow no less painful than the numbers in the bankruptcy report. There were nights when, with all the news swirling around, Master P disappeared from the stage and television. There are no more fiery slogans. There are no more million-dollar contracts. Those who once stood by him also gradually dispersed, pursuing their own lives. As for P, he was left with a truth no legendary rapper wants to face. The lights had gone out, and no one was waiting for him, but the darkness. The most haunting image during this period is not the trial. It's not legal paperwork, but it's the moment P stands in his empty house. The only thing left on the wall was an old No Limit poster, its corners peeling and colors faded. He reached out and took it down, slowly, without saying a word. No one needs to explain. Just that scene alone was enough for people to understand an era had ended. When the empire collapsed, people began to ask questions. Is Master P really a business genius? Or was he just lucky to be in the right place at the right time? Are you being too ambitious? Are you trying to juggle too many things at once? Deep, persistent questions. And the no one said it outright. The implication was clear. Even legends can be wrong. But this is the part that many people don't see. While the whole world analyzed No Limit's failure, P had to fight a bigger battle finding himself. Once you're used to being at the top, the fall into the abyss doesn't just cost money. It makes you lose your sense of purpose, your goals, and even your self-confidence. There are days when P wakes up in absolute silence. No meeting schedule, no studio, no team is rushing to meet the release schedule. Only him and the suffocating emptiness stretched on. And in that void, P realized he had to pay the price for years of non-stop racing. His ambition to take no limit to the top led him to make many sacrifices without realizing it. If the stage lights are magic, then silence is the most cruel reminder. You can't run forever. And sooner or later, every empire must pay the price for the speed it once boasted. Master P once said he wasn't afraid of failure. But no one is prepared for failure when it comes from many sides at once: money, work, friends, family. And it was that very overlap that made this period the darkest shadow of his life. This is why, looking back at Master P's journey, no one can see him the same way anymore. A legend isn't made by the number of albums or contracts. A legend for daring to rise from the very place where everything once collapsed. 5. The truth is, no one mentions Master P. There's something interesting about legends. When the lights go out, when scandals are torn open to the public, and when the public only remembers the missteps, there will always be another layer of truth that emerges. Quieter, deeper, and sometimes more important than everything they ever boasted about on album covers. For Master P, that layer of truth is what makes people take notice when they look back at his journey of over 3 decades. Because when you look at the flip side of every family argument, the back and forth with his son, or the criticism surrounding No Limit during its decline, you see that he truly did what the entire industry believed was impossible. Master P didn't just create a record label. He laid the foundation for a new way of thinking, the mindset of ownership. In an era when all rappers were dependent on major labels, he walked into the priority offices and left with a deal that industry insiders still call unbelievable. He retained almost complete ownership of his music. A step that was both bold and reckless. But most importantly, it opened the door that generations of artists would later follow completely unaware of who had taken the first step. It was that very model that allowed a series of other empires to rise. Cash Money is looking at No Limit to renegotiate terms. TDE used that independent ideology to make Kendrick a global icon. QC built the Migos lineup based on the philosophy of self-reliance. J. Cole's Dreamville Cole continues the spirit of artists leading themselves. All despite their different musical styles are following the path that Master P paved. A path that no one has prepared. No textbook, no mentor. Only the will of a rapper from the Calliope projects dared to go against the current. But the surface is always the most visible. The deeper thing lies in how he invests in people. While many other artists jumped into alcohol brands' fashion or advertising contracts, P chose a more quiet path. He adopted many young basketball players, providing them with food and lodging, arranging training, and helping them avoid the harmful pitfalls he had faced. He pays tuition for students he doesn't know. He sponsors scholarships in various forms, some of which amount to hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the strangest thing? He never talks about it. No live stream, no PR, no logo attached. A type of charitable work by people who grew up in places where life never favored them. Give because I once understood the feeling of having nothing. Many black business organizations in the US consider Master P to be one of the sharpest business minds in hip-hop history. It's not because you're the richest. It's not because you started the biggest company either. And because you are someone who dares to try, dares to make mistakes, dares to lose money, and dares to start over, so that future generations don't have to bang their heads against the walls that you once broke down with your bare hands. Therefore, whenever black ownership is mentioned, his name always comes up as a prime example of self-reliance. And there's still a little-known truth, despite having gone bankrupt, lost millions due to bad investments, and having to start over more than once, Master P still donates nearly $1 million to charity every year. No report, no PR article, no hashtags, only checks sent to schools, food banks, community organizations, scholarships, and even the families of gun violence victims. While many artists only need a few tweets to be praised, P chose to remain silent. A silence that was both admirable and tinged with a wistful sadness. Because in that silence, one sees the image of a man accustomed to doing what is right, without expecting anyone to stand up for him. Looking back at Master P's career, the most haunting thing isn't the mistakes he made, but rather, it's the fact that the public always remembers how No Limit collapsed, remembers C. Murder's conviction, remembers the artist contract disputes, but forgets how Master P himself paved the way for the entire hip-hop industry to shift. Forget that without you, the idea that rappers don't need major labels to survive might have arrived 10 years later. Forgetting that current artists are living off the expensive mistakes he made and paid for himself. And when we look at the aftermath of his life, we don't see a perfect person. We see a man burdened with wounds, cracks, and family pain. But I also see a person with the will to build in power, and who never waits for anyone to label them great. That's what changed the perspective. Because sometimes the loudest people in music are the quietest when doing something kind. And Master P is that kind of person. Empire builder. The one who lost the empire. The person stood up. And he continued to build, but this time, for others. A truth enough to make anyone, after looking back on that journey, unable to see Master P the same way again. 6. People after the rubble. Today, Master P is no longer the man standing at the helm of the fiery No Limit empire. Like he was in the late 90s, he's entering a new phase, slower, be quieter, but colder and more alert than at any other time in my life. When the stage lights dimmed, P chose to stay. Look at the fragments of the past and begin piecing them back together, one piece at a time. Not noisy, no boasting, just a man who has been through too many cracks. The first thing he did was rebuild the business. No more albums every month, no more artists waiting in the wings for plans. Instead, there are food brands he built from scratch: ramen noodles, cereal pancake mix, and even rap snacks. A snack brand in collaboration with a series of new generation rappers. Others see it as just food. But for Master P, it was a survival strategy. Equity is the real game. And this time, he didn't let anyone else hold the key for him. But even if his career brightened again, a large shadow still hung over Master P in 2022. That was the day he lost his daughter. An opioid tragedy. A fall that no words can fully describe. Previously, P had endured many blows from life, but losing a child for him is a crack so deep, it cannot be mended by success or money. That was the moment he truly slowed down. It's not because of losses in the entertainment industry, and because of the loss of a father. And it was that fall that changed his perspective on everything mental health, the pressures within the Black community, and the silence that so many families endure. From then on, P became a strong advocate for mental health, not the slogan type, but it's the warning of someone who has paid the price. He appears in community programs, dialogues with young people, and calls on families to open up about depression, anxiety, and substance abuse. He spoke plainly without embellishment. If I, Master P, ever got lost, then anyone can fall into this vortex. It's important to speak up. And for the audience aged 45-70 who followed him from cassette tapes to the streaming era, that truth weighs more than any rap he's ever written. Today, P spends most of his time on education, sports, and community business. He invests in basketball academies, sponsors tuition fees, and creates playgrounds for the children he sees himself in from his youth. He organizes programs to support youth, connect minority-owned businesses, and promote a sense of ownership, something he fought for since the days of building No Limit on a folding table in a cramped room. A new Master P, fewer shows, more classrooms, more sports fields, more community gatherings. But his current life isn't entirely peaceful, because behind rebuilding a life, there are still unhealed scars. The most prominent of these is family conflict. His son Romeo publicly accused his father of owing money, lacking financial transparency, and not listening to his children's voices. This story shocked public opinion not because of the scandal, but because P's image as a model family had existed in the public eye for too long. Where does the truth lie? No one knows for sure yet. P did speak up, but for the most part, he remained silent. And it was that silence itself that made everything even more hazy. The conflicts between you and your loved ones, the financial decisions that are being discussed, the unanswered questions, all still hang in the air. No one truly knows what happens behind their closed doors. All we know is that Master P, who built an empire from the poorest project area in New Orleans, is learning how to build something much harder, peace within his own family. Today, Master P is a man who walks with scars that cannot be hidden. But there's one undeniable point he doesn't give up, not even once. He changed direction, corrected his mistakes, stood up, and then continued building. No longer glamorous, no more hip-hop mogul facade. Only a father, a teacher, an entrepreneur, and a human being remain trying to regain balance after all the devastation. And that version is the real Master P, the person the audience will no longer see as they did before.
All data, analysis, and commentary in this video are presented based on information available at the time of production. The content is subject to change over time and should not be considered a definitive forecast. There is still so much more to explore: stories of resilience, legacy, and the truth. Feel free to dive into some of our top recommended videos now appearing on your screen.